Okay. I don't know why you couldn't, but hopefully now you can, and, away we go. So, I didn't actually change anything. That's the amazing part. So let me really close a lot of these windows here so I am minimizing all of and this is driving me nuts too. Okay. Now then, um, I actually don't have your live chats, coming up. I'm using a whole new software tonight, and it is I don't like it. I'm testing it out. I don't like this new software whatsoever. Yeah, you guys almost saw the F bomb. Have you ever seen the Bill O'Reilly video where "We'll do it live"? You have no idea quite listen, I'm a longtime broadcaster. When you dial in to do a show, you have to be a certain level of on point, a certain level of intensity, and when crap just goes all haywire, that intensity has to go somewhere, that anger, and I'm not the most patient person to, begin with. Okay, so they actually turned the lights off. They gave me this lovely little patio that they have a restaurant here at the hotel that closed. So they let me use this patio with the waterfall behind me and everything, and then they turned off the lights. Will not be staying here on any subsequent trips to Tampa come hell, come high water. I will live in the park for 3 days next time. Wonderful room, really nice staff. Just I popped my head into breakfast. Oh, good, we have a dog too. Popped my head in for breakfast, and I would have been the youngest person there by a solid 30 years. Let's talk about the Penguins, shall we? Um, I'm gonna make sure the chats are coming in. Actually, red or green doesn't matter. Why? Oh, yes, it does. Green means good, red means bad. Ha! What do you know? Listen, this is the top of the line, Shure model. I just dropped 400 bucks today to, be able to do these chats with the very audio possible. But because it's night, the light goes nuts there. I don't cover it up. Okay, we're gonna talk about what makes this Penguins team different, and that's gonna be a much more complicated answer than a couple of bumper stickers or simple toss off answers. Well, the coach. Well, Eric Carlson is playing better. Well, Tristan Jarry is playing better. But you put all of those into the casserole dish, and you're still, I don't think, halfway there in terms of what makes this Penguins team different. So I'm actually going to start with the goaltending, Tristan Jarry, and in the locker room Monday night, I loved it. I kind of just unfiltered. We talked to Rutger McGroarty, and I always enjoy talking to Rutger. So we do the little media scrum. I mean, he's just having fun. He'll drop a couple of colorful quotes and not think twice about it. Just get about his day or night, and never consider what he said or his personality just shines through. Is my point. So we turn around because Tristan Jarry is on the other side of the small locker room, like directly behind us. We turn around and there's Jarry just lounging like that, talking to the PR and security. Just and I posted a picture of it on Twitter. He could not have been more relaxed, more at peace. I mean, sure, the Penguins won 5-1. Okay. But there was just it wasn't the old I don't know, and I don't wanna use a negative adjective here because I don't think That would be appropriate, but it there was a certain sometimes attitude or personality that Tristan Jarry kinda gave off even after wins, like, he just didn't wanna talk to the media, and it was abundantly obvious even though he didn't say so. He, in the best way possible, couldn't have cared less Monday night. Gave some really good, insightful answers, just hanging out, and I guess when you're 8-2 and 0, your team is in the playoffs, you can be cool like that. I think more specifically, he was cool, calm, and collected on the ice. The 2 big differences I notice in Tristan Jarry, and I'm far from a goaltending expert, but, I guess when something's really obvious, I can pick them up, right? There were a couple of saves Tristan Jarry made laterally, clearly showing that, A, he's healthy, but the way he made the saves moving laterally, holding his technique and form, keeping the paddle there, keeping square, but still moving was beautiful technique. I don't think in the past couple of years he could move quite like that physically. Um, Even technique-wise, it would break down. There would be, 5, 7, 9 holes just wide open. And he made several saves being able to properly do that. But also, you've seen this year, he's been in some tight games. He's made the big saves. For a goaltender, I will firmly tell you that's purely mental. Absolutely 110% mental. The saves you can make in the second period when you're helping your team out are the exact same in the third period, except there's a heightened pressure. This year, Jari is making those heightened pressure saves. So that's one thing I think he deserves a world of credit for. The second biggest difference, Monday compared to just a couple of weeks ago was indeed Rutger McGroarty. What he did for that third line was was actually quite impressive in the sense that for the first time, we saw some of the best of Ville Koivunen, and we saw that Ben Kindle from training camp in the first few games where he was really, aggressive in the offensive zone, aggressively looking to make plays, but also getting to the net. And Koivunen kind of rounding out that line. Koivunen is a great playmaking winger. I mean, he really has some vision, and he snapped off a couple of passes to Ben Kindle near the net, and he laid some sauce on McGroarty's tape in the slot on a 3-on-2, and McGroarty hit the glass. Which McGroarty, Rutger kinda chided himself later, "I've gotta put a few of those in the net." Well, he absolutely does, but there was just a synergy, there was a chemistry, a fizziness to that line. Dan Muse was able to trust them in the defensive zone, with all respect to Tommy Novak. The fizziness hasn't been there with him on that line, no matter who the right winger was, Philip Tomasino, Kevin Hayes, trying to think of who else was there beside, Ville Koivunen. It's been a little bit of a rotating cast there, and it just clicked. 3 guys, 21 and under, looked like they were having a good bit of fun and challenging themselves and so forth. And I don't know, and I forget which one of you, one of the PHN readers replied a couple days ago, and you exactly right. It seems like as the Penguins' third line goes, so goes the team. Crosby is a necessity. If Sidney Crosby isn't playing well, the Penguins really are in kind of dire straits. But also the third line, when it's not a black hole, when it's not making defensive mistakes, the team is just so much better. And I'll admit, I'll freely admit that on Saturday night, I had grabbed a shovel and I started throwing dirt. That's it. Bottom dropped out. We're watching the end of the Penguins deal here this season. I mean, how could you not? What were they? 3, 5, and 3 in 11 games through the end of November? Or did they get maybe they got a 4th win. They were like 4, 5, and 3 or 4, 5, and whatever it was. They were below 500. They weren't winning games. and then they just get shellacked. They got lucky in Columbus because Columbus didn't close, to save their lives, and the Penguins found, some third period life, kind of, got a couple of goals, maybe one was cheap. Like I said, lucky. And then Toronto just boat races them, just lays the Penguins. I absolutely thought the bottom had dropped out, and I'll make no bones about that. But to see such a dramatically different team on Monday is quite interesting, actually. Very interesting. So, I guess I have to use the shovel to start taking the dirt I threw off of them. Oh, I found the chat feature now too. Look at this. Software is coming together. Bunch of you saying there's no audio. I can actually edit that later. You need someone texting you. Now, Will, that's from Will, clearly a longtime reader. Yeah, fortunately, practice is not going on right now, and Shelly's not asking me, you know, questions. What should I do here? What should I do there? Or, getting texts from friends. Hey, did you see that the Penguins did this today? Which I love those texts, by the way. My friends, my friends forget what I do for a living, I think. Wow. What happens if, I'm like, you guys realize I'm standing here talking to the person you're texting me about, right? You guys know that I do this like times a year. Okay. Let's get to I think the third thing. And that is Dan Muse. He is handling the team in a very different way. He barked at the team last week, full on. He let them have it at the morning skate in Columbus. Uh, I'm told he's voiced his displeasure a couple of times in the locker room over the last couple of weeks, but he doesn't maybe do it in the overbearing, uh, sometimes destructive, sometimes selective way that other coaches have done it here. And his message is more unifying, group challenging, not good enough. I think that's one of his, I think his go-to phrase, not good enough when stuff isn't. Given that and the way he has empowered a lot of these players getting their second and third opportunities, Ryan Shea, Parker Wotherspoon, Justin Brazeau, who will not play on, Thursday, by the way. News update, Brazeau and Nolachari won't play Thursday, most likely, but they are on the trip, so that would mean Dallas is a real possibility. Otherwise, you have no reason to bring them on the trip. So, just the way Muse is sort of handling them, the rookies have not seemed downtrodden or like they're pressing. Kindle had no even strength points since November 3rd. Ville Koivunen dying for some points, 2 assists in 14 games now, 13, 14, whatever it is. But yet their spirits remain very high, and I think that all points to, to one guy, one thing, and that's Dan Muse. Another thing that is different, obviously, when you are getting the contributions that the Penguins have in fact received from Wotherspoon and Shea on the blue line. When you're getting the contributions from Anthony Mantha and Blake Lizotte, not necessarily offensive contributions, but incredible defensive contributions. We should also little tip of the cap to Todd Nelson. That power play, if it were a fluke, it would have cooled already. Nelson clearly has tapped into, the Penguins and what the Penguins are doing, very well, or can do very well. I mean, they're still clicking over 30%. In fact, after 3 I haven't looked yet ahead. I would assume 3 power play goals and 4 opportunities Monday. I'll probably raise them closer to 35%. So all of those things, just the attitude, the secondary players, the goaltending, the coach, it really, it it has created a situation in which the team was more able to rebound from what probably was, could have, should have been a death slide. I mean, there was every reason to pack up, go home, begin to sulk and slide as they have done in the past couple of seasons after that Toronto loss. So that's my little take on that. I suppose the subset to some of that is also Rutger McGroarty. I think the difference he made with the team. Just what a his personality, but also, probably much more importantly is his hockey sense. The fact that he is a polished player who can play well defensively and in the offensive zone. Playmaking is probably much better than his goal scoring, quite frankly. And so you look at McGroarty, Kindle, and Koivunen, and I don't know if you realize this. That very well could be the Penguins' top line 2, maybe 3 years. Think about that. How crazy that is, and you're watching the seeds be planted, right now. Let me get to a couple of questions here. Let's see here, making a big save early. Yep, absolutely. They made Philly look like children. How funny was it watching the Penguins sort of be the physical aggressors on Monday? The Penguins doing dumb things, taking penalties, um, and the Flyers kinda be on the receiving end and angry. Although I must say the refereeing was curious to me. I mean, it was hard to argue. The only call I really would have argued with, beside the overturned goal, which still boggled my mind. It's unbelievable that they looked at that for a moment and said, "Yeah, that looked like interference." If that were interference, no player ever could go near the goal. But the only call I really questioned was the Ville Koivunen, interference call in the 3rd period when he kind of spun off of a wall battle and went to go to the net and merely collided with a Flyer. Like, that's just coincidental contact. I don't know what you do or how you get around that, but so be it. I don't think the Penguins will care very much. Get those comments and questions coming in here. I think I've actually have I gotten to the end already? No, some of the chat isn't transferring now? No, let's see here. Can I do that? Okay, Will Rockstar says, "Oh, I'm learning the new features of this software as we go." I spent the last 30 minutes trying to find good Wi-Fi and do all of that. Let's go to boy, that's really small on the screen. Hey, Dan, great to see you. I hope the Tampa trip goes well. It's been nice. I'm learning I tell you, I get no respect. I literally stood at the bus stop downtown today to catch the number 34 to my hotel. It's actually a quarter mile away. I make the walk, no problem. I'm standing there. I'm the only one at the stop. So I get it. Bus driver sees someone, you know, doesn't look like they ride the bus very often. At least I got that vibe on the early bus rides, and people were looking at me like I even heard someone whisper, "Look at white boy." I was like, "Oh, man." And believe me, there was no one else they would have been talking about but me. And the bus driver just goes flying by the bus stop, a main bus stop, full speed. Just I'm like, "Okay, there you go." And the bus driver, she looked back at me like, "Oh, crap." Didn't even touch the brakes, though. Didn't bother. That's been my day in Tampa. That was Dan's day off, was writing a couple of stories, buying equipment, and figuring all of this out. Anyway, what do you think will happen to Novak once Brazeau comes back? This is a very tough question for me. Hogue for what does that really mean? Hogan, whatever. Because I know what I've seen from Tommy Novak hasn't been good enough to remain in the lineup. He doesn't fit on the 4th line because the 4th liners are better. Even Boko Omama, I would put as far more suited to fourth line duty than Tommy Novak. He didn't add to the third line. That third line did really nothing for an entire month. Nothing at even strength. Absolutely nothing at even strength. And aside from a couple of assists in Columbus, he set up the game tying goal and the winning goal. I can't say, he's perfectly vanilla. So, what would I do with him and what the team will do with him are probably 2 very different answers. I think what happens is, oh, boy, he probably does become the 13th forward. I just as you ask the question, I'm going through it in my head. You can't touch the 3rd line. Absolutely, positively cannot touch the 3rd line. Unless you are going to platoon him with Kevin Hayes on the top line until Ricard Raquel comes back. Nothing you can do. You because Noel Achari will be back, and Dewar, Lizotte, and Achari, great 4th line. Great, don't touch it. So, I don't know, maybe he platoons a little bit with Ville Koivunen on the right side. That would be a possibility I could see Dan Muse, tinkering with as well. But aside from platooning with Kevin Hayes, who actually has probably played of the 5 games, last 5 games, probably played 2 really solid ones, 1 pretty good one, and a couple where he was largely invisible. But he has helped that top line with a lot of plays I don't think people notice, just little touch passes or little puck pushes into the right part of the ice, open space, little tap passes, just really versatile, just, helping the play move forward, with a bit of, creativity. Let's see here, let me get back. Man, why aren't the questions are not filtering over to the software? That's kinda funky. Let me see here. Let's go to Gary. Just because Jari is doing better now, do you and everyone else believe? I'm guessing you're on the other side of this fence, Gary. Everyone else believe he won't regress and suck like he has for several years? Oh, we got the exclamation point and double question mark. Gary, I don't know. And neither do you, and that's the point. That's why they play games rather than run this crap through an AI simulator and award a Stanley Cup. And yes, Jari is not going to win 80% of his starts this year. I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen. He's gonna have a couple losses. He's gonna have some adversity. Now, the funny thing is people who have made up their minds that he's going to suck eventually are just waiting for that bottom to fall out. And every instance where he maybe comes up a little bit short, has a bad night at the office, is going to be proof. "See, I told you." When the reality is, I sense a very different Tristan Jari. Full stop. I really, really do. New father. He's been through hell, physically, emotionally, mentally. He's now been through it all. He's gotten, his people, his mental coach, his physical, his goalie coach, his organizations, goalie coaches. He has now gotten help and support literally from everywhere. And you're seeing the result. I do think, actually, the platoon is doing him far better good than than I could have expected. And the reason the platoon is doing well is it keeps him healthier. He made a real vague reference last week about his health, and it took him more than a year to feel human. and he's learning to deal with it. Well, what does that mean? Learning to deal with it. That line to me was full of subtext and context that maybe he does have to battle something that nags or never truly goes away. We'll see. Uh, he very well might fall off a cliff in January. I mean, his play wise, not physically. He might just completely faceplant in the second half of the season. But to expect it and to demean others for not expecting it, that's I don't know, what fun is that? Like, what purpose is there in just absolutely writing off a player who's playing well? Let's see here. Um, okay, Will, trying to keep the chat moving. Crosby, Rust, Malkin, or Crosby, Rust, Raquel, line 1. Malkin, Mantha, Brazeau, line 2. Kindle, Hayes, McGroarty? Okay, very possible, I suppose. Lizotte, Achari, and Dewar. Is that the lineup heading into the playoffs? I was thinking about that. I was actually going to write something today, but, I just decided I'm gonna check the morning skate tomorrow and see how if there are line rushes tomorrow, if the boys go full skate, since they had a day off on Tuesday. They had a full skate today. We'll see if they do a full skate, tomorrow. Yeah, Hayes is another one. He's played well enough to stay in the lineup. I suspect that Justin Brazeau and his success or failure is going to dictate a lot. If I mean, he's not gonna score go return to being a 50-goal scoring pace. That was kinda crazy, right? If he's able to maintain top 6 level production, then you do have some real difficult choices with Kevin Hayes and Ville Koivunen and Tommy Novak. But if he doesn't, now you can shuffle him around the lineup, sort of as a free atom connecting on different lines. 'Cause, I know that's how Mike Sullivan used to like to build lines, although he got away from that the last couple or a few years. He used to build pairs and then have the 3rd member of that line sometimes change up just to provide a spark to the pair. Dan Muse referenced it once about building pairs, and so I could see Brazeau becoming a free atom that jumps up to this line, down to that line, and becomes sort of the blender. Let's see here. While I look for questions, I finally got one of my favorite watches fixed down here. I put it in my bag. I figured I had a day off, and it turns out right next to the little pizza place I like here in Tampa was a jewelry store. Like, woo, perfect. Let's see. Can you see it on here? Yeah, you can. Can you? Anyway, you're gonna laugh when I tell you the story of the watch brand. It is a Zodiac watch. Some of you might know the, historical reference of a Zodiac watch. I mean, it's a great watch company, Swiss made, they're really great stuff. But unfortunately, the symbol let's see if I can show you the symbol you might recognize. Can you see it there on the top? Wait, I can't do it. Try it this way. There, it's on the bottom. Do you see the symbol? Yes, the Zodiac killer actually took the Zodiac symbol, and the guy who very much almost guaranteed, all probably, has been proven to be that serial killer, Arthur Lee Miller, used to taunt police by wearing a Zodiac Seawolf watch, which are great. I mean, wonderful watches. I wanna buy one, but I don't wanna wear the watch of a serial killer. This is a Zodiac Grand Rally. I like it. I got a new band put on it, you know. Uh, anyway, I am getting off topic. Let me jump back over here to YouTube because the questions are oddly not coming through. Let's see here. Well, Bacon says the Jari sounds like a different guy in the interviews mindset. Absolutely. Let's see here. Michael, give the kids lines some time. They're going to start lighting up the lamp. It's just lighting the lamp. You don't have to light up the lamp. You just light the lamp. Koivunen is oozing his playmaking ability all over. We're gonna skip past that line. He's snake bitten for sure. Yeah, he's had some great chances and actually made some good shots on those great chances and watched some great saves. Whew, I don't think I want any of Koivunen's playmaking on me. I don't know about you. Brandon Rickner. Hey, Brandon. I think Imama is incredibly underrated. A lot of people think he was only called up for the rough stuff, but he's been amazing in the AHL. His first game was more of the same. He could stick. Listen, Mike Sullivan would not have played him 16 games last season to sell tickets or because he had no other options. There were other options, and he impressed Sullivan enough to get game time and more than just 3 to 4 minutes that we've seen like Ryan Reeves, not just in Pittsburgh, but like Reeves play in Vegas and Toronto and elsewhere. So, yeah, Imama was playing 10 minutes, which for a fourth liner in Pittsburgh is quite a bit, or at least it was quite a bit. Now, Muse, 10 minutes is almost your baseline. If you don't play 10 minutes, you were in the coach's doghouse. Let me let's see here. I can't put some of these questions on. I don't know why they don't come through. That is so wild to me. Michael says, I also wanted to say I think Manta's willingness to talk trash and mix it up is underrated. He's got a real dry and a biting sense of humor. Kind of I mean, birds of a feather here. Let's see what else we got here. Keep those questions coming in. Yeah, yeah. Someone says, "Hey, Dan, you're the man." No, I'm really not. By the way, how is the sound on this brand new expensive microphone? A little bit better? Are we working here? Is is it working? So, let me kinda get back to a couple of the things that I wanted to talk about here, not just in front of the differences in the Penguins, but let's talk now. Ooh, you know what? Let me do this. For producer Scott, who'll actually pick through this tomorrow morning, let's add a break for the Odyssey Podcast Network right here. Now, you on the video side will keep going. Um, let's talk about expectations for the rest of the year. Look, we're 25 games in. I think that's 2 full 10-game segments, and we're into the 3rd. We're halfway into the 3rd 10-game segment. Any hot start is gone. Any ups or downs, blips are gone. So, from this point forward, I think it's fair to say we are getting a real look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, what does that mean? Where can they go? I saw a colleague reference them as playoff contenders, but not Stanley Cup contenders. And I really began to chew on that when I read that, this morning. I'm not gonna say who, because I don't know if I disagree or agree. I'm gonna find out over the next couple of sentences. Because you look at the Eastern Conference, who's the favorite? Who's the best? You take Sasha Barkov out of Florida, they are no longer head and shoulders above everybody else. Carolina has, their annual first round win, second round loss because they've got one way to play, one style, one formula, one system. Like we play exactly this way. I've had coaches, not at the NHL level, but I've had coaches in hockey talk about, um, amongst the coaching fraternity, let's say, that Carolina can be beaten, can be schematically beaten in the playoffs. Take it for what you will. I don't think the Penguins would beat Carolina unless the goaltending, unless the Penguins dramatically won the goaltending battle. Can the Penguins not beat New Jersey in a playoff series? Yeah, I think so. Can the Penguins beat Washington in a playoff series? Oh, heck yeah. Who am I missing? Maybe the New York Rangers, maybe the New York Islanders, maybe the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, the Flyers are 14-8-3. Absolutely. The Penguins could beat all of those teams. Could the Penguins beat the Boston Bruins? I surely think so, in a 7-game series. Could they beat the Montreal Canadiens? Absolutely, unless the Canadiens find a way to get the best out of Sam Montembeault. Oof, Sam is killing my fantasy team. Oh, I digress. Um, so really, I think the only team that would be heavily favored to beat, more that I would say they can't, is most likely Carolina. Now, that's just getting to the cup final. Could the Penguins actually win the Stanley Cup against, say, Colorado? Yeah, no. That would be that would be an epic boat race. That would be a 4 or 5 game series. Sidney Crosby might actually break Nathan McKinnon's leg, and Colorado would still win the series in 4 or 5. Maybe that you know what? As I say all of that, I actually have to send my Colorado guy, Arif Dean, a message tonight. I think he needs to take a look at all of the teams that Rabbit started that just were destroying everybody through the first 3 months of the season, so much so that they had a playoff spot guaranteed wrapped up by early March, and how those teams fared in the playoffs. Because, I mean, we've seen some teams just never be able to flip that switch. Um, Columbus swept the Washington Capitals a few years ago. Capitals won the President's Trophy going away, and Columbus just knocked them out of the first round with impunity because Washington couldn't start the motor again. I'm trying to think of who else has really had those rabbit starts and then couldn't get it going for the playoffs. I think Carolina has in fact done that. Penguins never, surely have never been that team, have they? Um, I'm just rolling back through the years. Oh, the Boston Bruins. Oh, how did I forget the Bruins, right? Patrice Bergeron's final season when the Florida Panthers should not have made the playoffs except for the Penguins' absolute disastrous, calamitous, "Oh my god, what in the hell just happened?" collapse, losing, to Chicago, and then Columbus, and firing Ron Hextall and Brian Burke. Florida with what, like 86 points makes the playoffs. Boston with what, 110, 114 points, and Florida punked them. So, that would be the worry with Colorado is that they're gonna lap the Western Conference. Can they keep the engine going? I would suspect Nathan McKinnon. Yeah, that's not, going to be a problem. What is OBS much, Dan? I don't what is OBS? I don't know. I don't know your slang. 6'7". Let's go to Randy here. Randy, would be entertaining to finally see what Jari can get done in the playoffs with Muse as coach. I know I've never asked him. He's mentioned it a couple of times. That playoff run of 2022, that meant a lot to Tristan Jari. Like, that was his mo like, he had decided that was his breakout. That was when he laid waste to the 2021 face plan in which the Penguins just destroyed the Islanders and yet lost in 6 games because Jari had like an 857 save percentage and was basically he knew he cost his team the series. His team knew. No one really wanted to say it. So he was all in on 2022 and then gets hurt late in the season, um, and plays game 7. I thought it was really a valiant effort, just guts to come back in game 7, and I thought the, officiating in Madison Square Garden was really interesting. Actually, games 5, 6, and 7 were just interesting, shall we say. Let's go to Mitch here. Oh, here's a I'm gonna put this on the screen. I don't quite know how to, I don't know how to I disagree that I'm the man. You can see it in the pen's eyes when you ask a question. I I don't know. I guess I there are s look, there are a couple of guys I have a bit of a rapport with, and you can see me joke around a little bit with some of the guys, on video or some either the Penguins video or some of ours, but, oh, I don't know. I also think I ask a little bit of a different question that has nothing to do with any gravitas or anything that you're alluding to. I'm a little taken aback by it, but a former colleague one day groused to other colleagues, "Kingerski thinks he knows hockey, always asking hockey questions." And and I kind of laughed because, well, that is true. You don't I don't ask about family or very, very rarely do I ask frivolous stuff, and I certainly don't, make, any sort of habit of it. I can make some jokes, but, uh, yeah, I don't ask guys about their favorite foods or travel spots and all of that. I figure that's the team's job, and I stay in my lane. So I guess maybe if you see any different reaction to me, it's I'm asking about, like, Blake Lizotte and the penalty kill, and I'm digging into some defensive mistakes, schemes, and those sorts of things, and truth be told, I do know a bit about hockey, probably enough to get myself in trouble. Do I feel any oh, wait, there we go. Do I feel any trades coming? Mitch asks. Um, I do, actually. I don't know what. I do think that the Penguins probably could stand to add some left-handed depth on the blue line. I don't know sold on, Caleb Jones. I don't know if they were or not, I should say. Ryan Graves is playing well. It's actually quite nice to be able to talk to Ryan Graves in better times. I don't know, other reporters who do kind of ask different sorts of questions can go over and chat with him and ask, uh, I me asking hockey, like, what am I gonna do for the last couple of years in Ryan Graves? So, you missed that guy there. What was going through your mind? But this year, he's playing so much better. It's nice to be able to wander over and say hello and ask a few questions. He's a really, insightful, guy. But, another thing I could see is acquiring some right-handed help on the blue line. Clearly, I don't think the Penguins expect to have Harrison Brunick in their lineup if they were to make the playoffs. I just if they're in a playoff race in March, I don't think you're gonna see Harrison Brunick. Are they entirely comfortable with Matt Dumba and Connor Clifton? The platoon would say one of 2 things, right? The platoon would say either they're very comfortable with both, or they're not comfortable with either. I would lean towards the latter, and, uh, that's nothing I actually think Matt Dumba's played the last couple of games he played were getting pretty close to what I expected to see from him in terms of the top end. Figuring out the system, being actually a little more physical than I expected, skating well. He doesn't provide the offensive punch that he did 5 years ago, and I'm still curious about that. Like, what happened? Like, what changed? But nevertheless, he played a competent game, and I think Connor Clifton played a very competent game against Philadelphia. Um, I suppose other trades. No, I don't see Kyle Dubas spending to upgrade in any part of the middle six. That would be silliness when you've got McGroarty, Kindle, and Koivunen, and you're gonna have Hayes and Novak free range there, so, um, Dan, do I think the Penguins can beat Tampa in a seven-game series? Craig asks. Craig, I don't know. I want very much to see Tampa tomorrow, 'cause the Atlantic Division has been such a wild ride in terms of, middling. Like, no one the Ottawa Senators and Montreal Canadiens probably both had some really good stretches, but everybody else is really like Toronto on the mat till they play the Penguins. Florida, I mean, Florida is so depleted, and yet they're playing so hard because 'cause they're just so good and so deep, but they're still, you know, I on paper, you would not put them in the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, and so, I don't know if Tampa Bay was winning games because of their opponent or they're that good. Certainly with Braden Point out of the lineup, that takes a big chunk out. But I'm gonna do my pregame tonight. Actually, there's an Outback Steakhouse back there. I might wander over, or there's a Chick-fil-A right over here. I I I'm I literally I'm staying 2 miles outside of downtown because what happened was a developer bought up several hotels, like 3 or 4 hotels downtown Tampa. Now, there were only like 6 or 7, maybe 8 to begin with. So now they're all owned by like 2 people. And the developer who bought up these hotels, including my little off-brand Riverwalk hotel that was just, it was a peachy little place. And the pool was entirely interesting. It was like a scene from Desperate Housewives. Um, it was a scene. And so the couple times I stayed there, I actually didn't go to the pool, but I would, be able to walk around town and, kinda enjoy myself. And yet, uh, that $125 a night place is now $300 without making any renovations. They just like, "You know what, new owner? We're gonna charge $300." And so all of the hotels downtown jacked up their price. So I'm staying I don't wanna say because I've already bashed this place, enough. I don't wanna say where I'm staying. Great people, nice enough. I mean, I'm sitting out here in a closed restaurant patio because they gave me the space. So, um, yeah, I'm it's like suburban. Chick-fil-A, Burger King, IHOP, strip club, not going there either. Don't get it out of your head. Uh, and a gas station. It's actually a Wawa. Go figure. All right, let's get to, I'm gonna rapid fire some of these here because now they, like, all appeared, all these questions appeared. Well, right now, Tampa is the 2nd best team in the league, says Will Rockstar, so I think not, but the playoffs are what, 4 months away? Yeah. Let's see here. Brusick. Dan, apologies if you already covered this, but should we anticipate Raquel back in the lineup before Christmas? Earlier, perhaps? Well, I haven't covered that. Um, you phrased it well. You just skirted me calling it honey mustard. No, we will know when Ricard Raquel is close to returning when we see him practicing. That's when you start. your countdown. A couple weeks ago, I was there kinda jumping on the story. I actually got to practice early one morning, and there's Ricard Raquel with, like you could see, like, the neon green plastic brace he had on his actually, technically, it'd be this wrist. Um, and actually, Jeff Frisella texted me on Monday that while the Penguins were in Philly, he had to pop by UPMC Lemieux to get his skates sharpened, and there was Ricard Raquel on the ice, still not shooting, though. Very light shots. That tells me, we're probably closer to the 8-week timeline than the 6. He would be taking shots by now, like good ones, if it were a 6-week timeline. So we probably have a few more weeks. By Christmas, I think that would be just about that time frame anyway. Again, remember, guys, hockey, injuries, no go. They don't want any information out, not just the Penguins, every hockey team. You have a better chance of taking a tour of the gold in Fort Knox unattended than you do learning about hockey injuries. So, honestly, I know there are a couple of reporters around the league who love to try to get injury scoops, always, and bless them, 'em, they're trying. The guys who I'm thinking of are very credible, top shelf sorta guys, but when you get an injury scoop as a hockey reporter, you're probably not getting the truth. It's just, you know, even if the player tells you, unless he slipped and that gets that look. Great, now there's the thumbnail that YouTube is gonna use. Unless, you realize you got some information you weren't supposed to get. It's probably a little bit of, nonsense. Go to, Nick McKeel. Dan, your next mission is to find out who said what to Carlson before Sid's power play goal and pay someone to say it to him before every power play. I'll contribute to the Kickstarter. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that, Nick. I I'm unaware of any conversations or yelling at Eric Carlson or I don't know what you mean. Um, I'm sorry? Did the TV cameras pick up something that we in the arena didn't? I will tell you the Philadelphia broadcast was just fine, NBC, but they're covering the Flyers game, so all my replays, all of my when I'm glancing up at the TV above my head, and credit Philadelphia for actually putting the putting the broadcast on the TV, so there's like a 30-second delay. Watch the play. "Oh, what happened?" You know, like, coaches can do that. Some of the arenas, I can't. Kinda stinks, but you have to fill me in on what you mean there, Nick. What maybe, PSN caught that, NBC Philly didn't. Let me go to somebody new here. Wayno. Okay, I haven't read this. Let's see here. The other night. Oh, really? I didn't see that. Maybe Sullivan's unwillingness to adapt to the way the game has changed has really hurt his effectiveness and has made him a problem. Oh, really? I have to dig into this. I've got some Rangers people, Jim Cerny, with my partnership with Sportsnaut. Sportsnaut owns Forever Blue Shirts. Does have a blog name. It used to be a blog. Now it's run professionally. Jim Cerny, former play-by-play guy of the New York Islanders, longtime team reporter of the New York Rangers, longtime senior editor at NHL.com, is now running Forever Blue Shirts, foreverblueshirts.com. Check it out. Um, I think maybe Jim and I need to do a little digging. I appreciate the tip there, Wayno. I will apologize for some of the stuff I don't know. I mean, my Monday, just here is what kinda Monday was. I mean, I made the long drive to Philadelphia Sunday night. So I get in, and I'm you're kind of exhausted. I grab a little dinner. uh, go back to the hotel room, basically pass out at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever it might be. Up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Dan's Daily is out. I grab a little muffin or something at the Reading Terminal Market, and I'm on my way to the morning skate, taking the Philadelphia subway, which means if you've never been on the Philadelphia SEPTA, it is a wild ride, let me tell you. Um, for the second time in 2 trips, somebody was using a storm drain as a solid waste disposal system. I I guess it's better doing that than just in the middle of the stairs. So anyway, get to the morning skate. The Flyers or the arena security. Now, the Flyers PR hadn't left their credentials at the security desk. That happens half the time, right? What happens to us usually now is security picks up the phone, they call over PR, "Hey, we've got 2 Pittsburgh writers here. Yeah, they have credentials. It says Dan Kingerski," and I won't say the second writer who got detained with me. And the PR person's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let him in, send him back. I'll write him a credential. No problem." That happens a lot. It's just, PR has a lot on their plate in the mornings. Um, Technically, they're kinda, a little bit at fault, but well, the Xfinity mobile home security people wouldn't let us in the building. Didn't know who to call. They were calling some weird office number. So this goes on 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and they won't let us in. Like I start wa and now supervisor comes over, you know. She's gonna stand there with her walkie-talkie and she's bird hawking us 2 writers. We're getting a little upset by this point. I mean, I can be a little excitable. I will go along with anything if people are in good faith attempting to solve a problem. But we had passed that point. Now I can hear. I get there 11:05, 11:08. I'm early for morning skate. I'm pretty proud of myself. And these bird brains have now detained me for 30 minutes. I can hear the Penguins morning skate starting. I can hear the clicks of the tape down on the ice. I just walk over. Man, they start yelling. I start yelling back. It was a scene. I may or may not have referred to their job performance, including a few F bombs. I, I don't care. Like, but, so we finally get into the morning skate, cover the morning skate. Now it's noon, 12:15. Dan Muse talks. Okay, get out of the arena at like 12:30. I write a couple stories. Now it's 2 o'clock. I train back to the hotel, take a quick nap, an hour, hour and a half, train back to the arena, and I'm covering the game. I get out of the arena 12:30. That game took forever. Actually, I couldn't train back to the hotel because Philadelphia doesn't, have the anyway, I take an expensive Uber 2 miles to my hotel. It's now 1:30. I'm still wound up, after the game and all the work. I get 2 hours sleep, the alarm at 4 o'clock goes off, I'm back at the airport, I have a meeting with people in London at 5 AM, I'm on a plane with no Wi-Fi. So if I miss a couple of these details, I this is the life, this is the life that we've chosen. I don't mind it at all, actually. It does get a little tiresome, and if I miss Vincent Trocheck yelling at someone or some of these other, ancillary stories to the Penguins, just know that it's not sloth. I'm not sitting in a hotel room, watching reruns of Dateline, although I'd kinda like to do that. I did a bit of that today, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see here. Randy says 21 degrees here. What's the Florida weather like? Actually, I do have a jacket on. It's like 65 right now, 68 degrees. It was 75 and sunny today. Sorry. If I tilt this way, can you kinda you can kinda see the palm trees. If I do that, anywho, is Dan locked in the Zamboni engine compartment or a broom closet? Yeah, I'm on the patio, and they got to turn the lights on. where they turned them off. They gave me the space, but then turned the lights off. And I there's actually a church right across the street from whom I'm stealing good Wi-Fi in order to do this show. So I really have to be sitting right here. Um, yeah, Michael is correct. Most every President's Trophy winner for years has choked in the playoffs. Absolutely. I'm not gonna read this out loud, but I'll let you read it. If you're on the podcast side, I apologize. Let's see here. Earthquake doesn't wanna see the kids line. He wants to see McGroarty with Gino. Can I ask why? I mean, what you saw Monday, 3 guys clicking, a couple other guys really getting that jolt of energy from McGroarty, who I assume in turn kinda probably fed his game a little bit. Why would you mess with that? I mean, look, Dan Muse might, but why? Why I couldn't fathom why. All right, let's see here. Ace. It's not a coincidence the team plays better with the kids in the lineup. The vets seem to feed off them and play with a jump. If they do make the playoffs, do you see this being a strength or a weakness? I see it. Well, boy, that is actually a good question. I almost answered you one way, and then the ghost of 2006 7 kind of smacked me on the shoulder a little bit because you do have to learn how to win in the playoffs. And let's just say the Penguins were rookie heavy come April, May, come what April yeah, come what April, May. And I suppose it would be both. It would be very much both where, the exuberance and the energy getting there, very much a help. In the playoffs, I definitely could see a kid like Ben Kindle, Ville Koivunen, Rutger McGroarty, Tristan Brose if he's there in the lineup. Um, I could see those guys having a learning curve. I could also see at that point needing to insert veterans over them while they sort of figure it out. That would be an interesting scenario. However, given the Penguins' status in this rebuild, retool, re-whatever, you definitely want them on the ice. You want them getting a taste. Uh, whether they get smacked around or whether they rise to the challenge. Um, I suppose that's all a learning curve. This is where the last couple of years and these terrible losses to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms in the Wilkes-Barre by the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins in the AHL really come into play, because the Penguins were much better teams than Lehigh Valley the last 2 years. Yet, they lost this stupid three-game intro series. The AHL does it, because the AHL is a developmental league. It's not really about winning the Calder Cup. It's about developing the players, and so they have more teams in the playoffs, and so their answer to having more teams was to have, a short first series. That's when the referee allowed the high stick goal when the guy's blade was above his head. That beat them 2 years ago. And then a couple of terrible penalties, like, late in the 3rd period took away any Penguins chance. Like, they gave him a terrible goal, and then they gave the Penguins was it Ville Koivunen who was penalized for absorbing a hit at center ice? Like, it was literally that bad. It was so bad that 2 years ago, coach J.D. Forrest, obviously since moved on, I think he's an assistant in Rochester now, walked off the ice after the handshake line, looked at the 2 referees, went and kept going. I mean, it was brutal. And then last year, um, I guess last year what happened last year? Something funky last year. Oh, 2 years ago, Joel Blomqvist was also really shaky. Something funky happened again, and, I'm drawing a blank on it. Rutger McGroarty was hurt, and and the Penguins somehow got the short end of a really bad stick later in the game again. And that's when the Dan Kingerski, mythology covering Wilkes-Barre was born, that I'm not allowed to cover them anymore. I can't go to games per like Tristan Bros, like, "Hey, we finally won a game when you're here." Like, even some of the players sort of knew, when I'm around, they play terribly. Alright, we're doing I'm actually because it took me so long to figure out the microphone thing, I'm going a little bit long tonight. Let's see here. Dicky says, "I enjoy the media questions that try to bait Muse into talking about the refs." I don't recall any on Monday night. I didn't ask any. I don't think Michelle asked any. Jason didn't. In fact, we didn't even ask about the overturned goal. Oh, you know what? I do know a couple times earlier in the season, um, one colleague did try a couple of times. He got the or she got the they got the I'm not gonna talk about the referees, and that's kind of that's fine. Okay, now here's Nick updating me here. Sorry, Dan, referencing the fact that Carlson flew into the zone on the power play like a bolt of lightning, and the power play converted immediately. He was angry at the refs, maybe. Love to see that fire from Eric. No, I will tell you straight up what it was. Carlson has been doing that. When he sees ice, he takes it, and he takes it with a vengeance. That has been one of the biggest differences with Carlson this year, is playing with the puck, playing puck with aggression and purpose and intent and speed, all of those things. Been, a deal. Okay, that is going to be it for me. I am actually, I can feel my voice starting to go. I appreciate the heck out of all of you. It's why I'm sitting here in an empty patio. I don't know if we can yeah, closed restaurant behind me. You see I really can't see the waterfall. I was wondering if maybe you could hear it. Anywho, the folks here at the hotel have been very kind in letting me do this, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate you very much. Tomorrow's game day. Geez, I wasted 2 days in Tampa, and I've done literally nothing. Huh. No, I bought the microphone, and I got pizza. I suppose that's as much of a Dan vacation as we get anymore. So, in the meantime